hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a lovely day today. And we are going to be doing something rather, a little bit different, a little fun, since we're starting out the new year and everything. And we are going to be talking about some, really interesting topics that aren't really brought up too much when it comes to just competing, not only in Tekken, but other fighting games in general. And to help me out with this, I have Anya here with me.
Hello.
And so, what we're going to be talking about today is going to be, just simple, guides and concepts on, when it comes to traveling or going to locals or anything along those lines. So, if you want to maybe introduce yourself a bit on, how long you've been competing, everything along those lines.
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Anya. I'm a competitive Tekken player from Mexico. I also stream. I'm also a content creator and coach. But today we're going to focus on the competition part. So I've been competing for about 10 years, maybe almost 11. I started competing back in 2012. I basically realized that tournaments were accessible to pretty much everyone, unless it's an invitational, which is kind of rare. Everyone can just sign up, really. You can just show up and sign up, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes you need to sign up with a little bit of time. But yeah, back then I was very young. I realized there was a tournament in Acapulco here in Mexico. It was a small tournament, but I was like, wow, I can just go there and play. I'm gonna go. And I took a bus. Um, and it was around 24 hours on that bus from my from my country, not my country, my state, which is Nuevo León in Monterrey. That's where I was born. All the way to Acapulco, which is more in the south of Mexico. I was born more in the north. So it was like 23, 24 hours on that bus. I got there, I competed. I didn't do too well. Honestly, I didn't go O2 that first time, but I went O2 plenty of times before I started actually winning or like, having good tournament runs.
That's
So that's
definitely, yeah, that's definitely how it is. Like, especially going
yeah.
with stacked, because I'm assuming this was back in Tekken Tag 2, or was this
Yeah,
before? This was
I
Tag 2?
started I started Tag 2 2012.
Okay. Yeah, definitely Tag 2 was just a really hard game, just because so many people were like already like accustomed to Tekken, and then just how it's definitely a lot harder game to get into and everything along those lines. So I guess with that, going from there, what was your most memorable place that you probably went out to travel to go compete, whether it was like a really big tournament or just like your first local that you remember, anything along those lines?
Oh my God. It might have been the first time I went to Evo back in 2019. That was amazing. I was actually sponsored to go to that one. I want to give a brief shout out to Cherry Genix and E5 Pass. They help out with visas for foreign players.
Oh, okay.
Because I live in Mexico, I need a visa to go
Hmm.
to the US. So she actually helped me out to get my visa, and E5 Bus helped me out to travel to that one Evo, and it was a great, great experience for me.
Okay, okay.
So yeah.
And cuz I know you mentioned where you're at now. Was it really hard when Tekken 7 coming out to find tournaments around your location, or is that something that maybe you want to like host tournaments for people in the future or anything along those lines?
So I've been at TO for about 8 years.
Mhm.
Right now, I host at least 2 tournaments a week for a variety of games. But those are online mostly. The offline scene in Mexico is almost non-existent. There are not really like locals in many places, if any. So I do help out with like the our bigger events or majors. I say majors because it's like maybe up to 40 people in the biggest tournament.
Okay.
Like they're not like we don't have like tournaments with like hundreds or thousands of people like
Mhm.
y'all do in the US. But yeah, I normally like the offline tournaments like Thunderstruck is our biggest one. I'm the TO for that one, the lead TO for Tekken. I'm also like we do Smash Factory in Puebla. I also help out with that one. And those tournaments that they might come out in different states here in Mexico, I just go and I TO for it for most of them. So that's pretty much how it is here in my country.
Of course, of course. And
Yeah.
since you've traveled a lot, has there anywhere else you've traveled like besides like the states, have you gone like as far as like other countries or
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
honestly, just here in my country, I've gone to a lot of places in the US, and I've also been twice to Guatemala, which is Central America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this year I'm hoping, I'm planning on at least making it to Canada because I want to visit a new country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how big was the scene when you're out there in Central?
In Central America,
Mm-hmm.
well, it wasn't like a Central America tournament, it was a Guatemala tournament, and
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty much like ours. It was like 30 some people.
Mm.
The last time I had the chance of going was, I think it was 2020 or 2021. Um, I can't remember exactly. I think it was 2021, but I went to a tournament and they invited Abel del Maestro. He's a
Oh,
top Peruvian
yes.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the most memorable tournaments for me because I tried really hard to get to that grand finals and play with him, and I made it. I got second place. He destroyed me. He's amazing, but it was like a very precious moment for me to get to play at grand finals with him. It
Of
was a great
course.
honor.
That's just a grand finals in
Yeah,
general. Yeah, especially
yeah,
against him. He's such a solid player, so I totally
yeah.
get that. Has there when starting, what was kind of the things that weren't really told to you that you had to find out on your own when it came to like traveling to go compete or anything? Is there any like, untold stuff that people don't really bring up that's a lifesaver, whether that's like saving a specific amount of money, traveling a certain way, anything along those lines, especially with like Ubers being really expensive nowadays, or some places like Chicago for Combo Breaker, you can't rent a car unless you're like 25. So for younger players, it makes it harder for experiences like that and everything.
Yeah, well, I'll be completely honest with you. I travel in the lowest budget possible. I've always done this.
Hmm.
So I don't ever get like, I rarely get Ubers, things like that. I would say like just plan your budget very, very well as much as you can. I look for like take a bus or a train instead of, and then maybe paying like a $10 Uber instead of $100 Uber, like get out of that airport area.
Hmm.
So I just budget very well. I am kind of like trying to get the best price for the flights all the time. Always put some budget for food. Actually, look up food places before you go there that you can. I have to do that because I'm vegetarian. So if y'all have food allergies or any special diets, anything like that, that's also a good option. But it also helps you out to kind of budget out what you need. Something that I can also share is that a lot of these bigger tournaments like Evo, if you volunteer to be staff, if you apply to be staff, they normally give you food and money for running
Oh,
brackets.
wow. Okay.
So if you're like in a low budget, like I try to travel to so many tournaments, so I try to really budget them out. And for example, last year, 2022, I was staff for Evo, and they paid us $30 per bracket, and they also gave us coupons for food at the food court and a ticket to the arena. And that's pretty much more or less what they give out each year. It might vary a little bit, but that's like a very good option if you're traveling on a budget as
And
well.
the ticket prices stack. Like some of them start getting
Yeah.
more expensive, so that's really really good that they do that.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up as well, because you were talking about it, was um for getting Ubers outside, like as soon as you land, like in a specific place in an airport. I know they charge extra for picking you up just at the airport in some areas. So I know
Yeah,
that's another thing
exactly.
that's really really crazy that most people don't know. For those who like, are like barely traveling or anything along those lines, but it costs more as well to get picked up from an airport, and I'm not
Like
sure why, but
a
yeah.
lot more, a lot more. Yeah, something else that I also do is kind of pack like maybe just like sandwiches, like cookies on my backpack because the airport food is so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually let you put that through like to go in the plane and everything. What they don't let you is like liquids, like big liquids,
Oh,
like
okay.
over 90 milliliters.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to bring that in the plane. But if you have like some sandwiches, some cookies, you
Mm-hmm.
can bring that in the airport and just eat that instead of buying like the overpriced airport food.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely
Yeah.
really, really good. Cause yeah, especially with like all the stuff with like, you know, buying tickets for the venues and everything. And then, of course, people for the most time they go there to like support like people who are making merch, buying new arcade sticks, which already is like $400, 300 if you're buying like a Victrix or anything along those lines. So it really adds up. I remember because the biggest one I went to was Combo Breaker in 2019, and it was I was told to save a lot of money, and I underestimated it. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna need to save this much money. And yeah, the Uber rides, and then like being close to the venue, because we Ubered to the venue from the airport, and it was like an hour, maybe like an hour and 15. So it was definitely pretty expensive. And then just yeah, like
Yeah.
merch, if you want to eat foods with friends, everything, like it really goes a long way. Another thing
Yeah.
I want to bring up too, it's a lifesaver is, and they're not expensive for the most part. They're like 20 to 30 is just like a portable charger. Those
Yeah.
definitely are really good because it's
I
either
got one for $4 at GameStop.
oh, okay. Yeah, it's either really
Yeah.
hard to like find places that charge like phones, or there's some places that like charge you money to like charge your phone for a bit. Like they'll have stations and everything too. So that's more money you could save on the site also.
I have one more. So for example, for us when we travel to the US, we can just put credit on our phone and it works just fine. But
Oh,
if you go to other places like the Middle East, we had a player from here travel to Israel for a tournament. Uh, they locked their phone number forever because you have to follow certain steps to be able to use your phones in other countries.
wow. I
So
didn't know that.
he had to get a new number and everything. Like that was just like yeah. So always look up those type of things. Like sometimes you also need some other paperwork. Like for example, for us here in Mexico to travel to the U.S., we need a passport and visa.
Mhm.
Um, and then that's pretty much it. But some other places, they ask you for like certain paperwork, like to fill out some forms like beforehand. So they authorize you to go to that country besides from the visa and passport, or maybe just the passport and then the paperwork. So that's something like that we should also be very much aware of.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that as well, is there like a big tournament you haven't gone to yet that you're like really hoping to make soon, or just wanting to go to see, or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so this year, I wanna go for the first time to CEO.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm also gonna go to Frosty's next month. I already
Oh,
have that plan already, but I'm hoping I can also make CEO this year.
okay. And
And
that's
yeah,
Frosty's and CEO. Wow. That's yeah,
yeah,
those are two really big events. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then with that, do you have any recommendations? Because I know a lot of people as well, who are either like along the same sponsor, same team, or just, close friends with people. They will split like a hotel room or
Mhm.
anything along those lines. Do you have anything like that people really don't talk about? Or, for example, even just like splitting an Uber and stuff along those lines?
I, something that I can advise people is to make a lot of friends, do a lot of networking, because maybe you are going to their city and maybe they can help you out with a ride to the airport if you give them some gas money or stuff like that. It goes a long way in the FGC, and also you can help them out when they end up traveling to your city. So that's like it's good making friends within the community so we can help each other out. Something else that I also wanted to mention that I've seen people actually forget about this or not know about this is that some of these bigger events you have to register weeks before or you're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna be able to enter. We actually had a Mexican player go to Evo one year and he did not register. He thought he could pay at the door. He
Oh.
thought he could pay at the door and
Mm-hmm.
just like play in the bracket. And that's something that is not very common at all for bigger events. So y'all have to plan with time.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely is really scary. Another thing, kind of with what you said with networking and stuff, it really helps out too, because finding players that are locally to the events really help out because my most of my experiences with all the players are super welcoming. They're more than happy to help out.
Mhm.
I got tons of help when I was in Chicago for Combo Breaker, like people there, and then when I went out to Arizona, like people are very willing. So don't ever like, I guess like be afraid or think like like we're all here to like join and compete in these events, and we're more than happy to you know the more people compete, the merrier. So it's really one of those things that we're still trying to grow and everything along those lines.
Yes.
And with that, was there anything else you wanted to add or anything along those lines?
Well, I wanted to add that it's a very beautiful thing actually going to offline events for fighting game tournaments. A lot of people sometimes are afraid to even start competing because they're like, "Oh, I'm so bad. I don't know how to do anything. I'm gonna get beat up. I'm gonna go 0-2." But we all start somewhere. I started traveling to a lot of events, and I wasn't winning a single game. Like that's what helped me start winning games. That's what helped me eventually start having good tournament runs and even winning tournaments. So just do it. If you like competing, if you just like fighting games, like the competition and the tournament setting is very good. It's a very good experience that you're gonna have with that.
It really is, and it goes a long way. Just from not only like improving, but just like all the people you meet along the way, and just it goes a long way. It really does.
It does.
But with that, we will finish there. I appreciate everyone for watching. I'll definitely drop all of Anya's information if you don't know who she is and want to go check her out. But as of now, you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Be safe, take care, and see ya.